The following program, offered by Fox 19, includes lawyers licensed in Kentucky. For those lawyers to maintain compliance with the Kentucky Bar Association requirements, the phrase, "This is an advertisement," must appear on the screen. Moore Law is underwritten in the public interest by the Moore Law Firm, a legal professional association. This is Moore Law on Fox 19.
Welcome to Moore Law. Each week we dive into a legal topic and take your questions live on the air. Today it's on-the-job injuries. If you've been hurt on the job, you've got to know your options before it's too late. Whether you need to know about workers' comp, how to choose a doctor, how long benefits last, give us a call at 513-421-4691. The phone lines are open now. Joining me today and every Monday, Don Moore, how are you?
I'm doing good, Deb. How you doing?
Doing good. Busy weekend like usual, I assume.
Well, for me, I took a little R&R, watched the Bengals, and unfortunately too much R&R for them because they didn't cut it.
It was a rough day. I really thought they were going to, early on, I thought they were going to end up winning it.
And I understand that you got out and actually exercised.
Oh, I did. Oh, I took the kids. We ran a 5K in Blue Ash. It's that Matthew 25 Ministries one, and it's a great one. I mean, they had about 4,000 people, and my kids just call it the chocolate fountain race because at the end they have everything you can think of to dip in chocolate.
You can catch up on your calories you
that
just
you burned.
expended. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, listen, today's going to be a great show. We have a very special guest, good friend of mine, Greg Bellman. Welcome, Greg.
Deb,
Thanks
how
for
you
being
doing?
here.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for coming. Greg is a graduate of University of Cincinnati here locally. He also went to Chase College of Law locally. He is a certified workers' compensation specialist. That is, there is not a lot of lawyers that get that designation. He's got that. And he also knows what he's talking about personally. He was hurt on the job when he was, let's say, a somewhat younger man.
That's correct.
And so he knows the experience on both sides. Greg, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, you've been through it on so many sides of it. What would you say after all this experience is the one thing people need to know? If you get hurt on the job, what's the first thing you have to do?
Deb, the first thing you have 2 years to file a workers' compensation claim, but the most important thing is you seek treatment almost immediately, contemporaneous with your injury, and you report your injury to your employer, you document it, because a hearing may not be held for 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, depending on the nature of the injury, and you want to have that documentation, witness statements, incident report, and also that contemporaneous medical to show that not only you were injured, but the severity of the injury and how the injury occurred.
Okay.
Greg, I was curious, would you just tell us just briefly about what happened to you when you were hit, when you were hurt?
After I got out of the military, I was working in the building trades, working my way through school. And I blew my knee out working in the construction trade. And I was off about 18 weeks, and I didn't receive a check from workers' compensation until I had actually been back to work 2 weeks. So it was like 20 weeks before I received a penny. And I just thought it was grossly unfair. That planted the seed, and that's why I do what I do today.
Well, great. I'm sure it's
Excellent.
really wonderful for your clients so that you have that experience and you know where they're coming from.
Been there. That's
Okay.
correct.
Well, let's go to the phones now. First up, we have Mike in Cincinnati. Mike, as I understand it, you were hurt on the job a couple of years ago, and now you're having trouble finding another job?
Yes. I was hurt to the point to where they actually retired me. Because of the injury and the limitations I have now, I've been unable to find another job that I can do. I'm running out of my retraining program. I didn't know if it's something, are you able to go back on the city you worked for to do something on that end, or is it difficult to actually get disability through workman's comp?
That's a good question, Mike. One thing in your particular case is if there's a union contract involved and you being able to go back to work or return to your employer. If you're on disability, and I take it that you're receiving some type of living maintenance, a permanent total disability is a type of compensation where the decision is made whether you're capable of any sustained remunerative employment. And that's for any job in the economy. So I don't know your specific facts, but permanent total disability is a possibility. Also, if you do return to work in some capacity, you may be eligible for what's called wage loss, which tries to make up the difference between what you were making at the old job when you were injured and what you're making currently at that new job if you find a new job.
Okay. And Don, I think you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so my question is, when you say sustained remunerative employment? Is that kind of like you can go back to work and get a job?
Any job. It's
Okay.
not just the job you were doing at the time you were injured. Any job in the economy. If you lose an arm, there may be a job where you can use one arm. There could be a parking attendant. It may not be what you like, but the standard is, are you capable of any sustained remunerative employment?
Okay, good.
All right, let's take the next call now. We have Jelena in Goshen. Good morning, Jelena.
Good morning.
Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, my grandson was hurt on the job, back on the job. We really, at this point, don't know how serious it is. We're hoping it's not as serious, but I was wondering if he should go ahead and get him a lawyer, or if he should just wait and see what the doctors say first.
So that's a great question, and a lot of people I know want to know that. When should they get a lawyer if they've been hurt on the job?
Well, Jelena, if you feel overwhelmed, the system is overwhelming, and the system's created by lawyers. And it's not purposeful that you need a lawyer to maintain a claim. However, if you're receiving paperwork in the mail from workers' compensation, if you're receiving documentation from his employer regarding the claim, and you're not quite sure what it is, because what you don't know can hurt you, not just what you do know. So if you get something, and there are short statutes of limitations, appeal periods for paperwork that you receive from workers' comp, and if you feel overwhelmed, at the first hint of that feeling, I would at least make a call. Most attorneys will talk to you for free, and you can bounce things off of them. I certainly do that. I don't mind spending time on the phone with an individual.
So, because that was going to be my question, is what can I expect? If she makes a call, somebody will talk to her for free, or is there some upfront costs?
No, there are no upfront costs. I can't speak for everybody, but I think most attorneys that practice workers' comp that represent injured workers have no problem with a consultation for free.
And Greg, following on that, just very briefly, if this person would hire an attorney, what generally do workers' compensation attorneys charge?
Generally, they work on a contingency basis, and by that I mean they are entitled to a percentage of what they help you get. And what I usually tell people, if you can afford to, 2/3 of something is better than 100% of nothing. So if you're not getting anywhere with workers' comp, it might be time to make that phone call.
So the lawyers charge a third?
It's a contingency. Generally, it's a third.
Okay,
That's correct.
good.
We are going to take a break right now. Give us a call. We're talking about on-the-job injuries, 513-421-4691. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to More Law on Fox 19, your legal questions live, with local broadcaster and award-winning reporter Deb Haas and Cincinnati personal injury attorney Don Moore, recognized by Ohio Super Lawyers. More answers, more help, more law on Fox 19.
Now we will take you to your More Law Connection, where attorney Dan Moore is answering viewer emails. Good morning, Dan.
Morning, Deb. How you guys doing today?
So far, so good.
Good. Today, our first question is from James. He wants to know, I was laid off and have been behind in my bills. I have collection people calling, my relatives and neighbors. Is this legal? Well, the answer is it depends on why the collection people are calling your friends and neighbors. If they're calling just to get information of where you are and how to get a hold of you, that's allowed. If they're calling to provide information about your debt, or to harass you through your relatives or neighbors, or to do anything substantively about your debt, not allowed. And so if they're doing the things that aren't allowed under the law, what I would recommend is you contact the Federal Trade Commission and lodge a complaint. You can also contact your local Better Business Bureau and lodge a complaint with them as well. Deb?
All right, thanks a lot, Dan. And of course, Don and I are joined today by Greg Bellman as we talk about workers' compensation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, let us get back to the phones right now. We have several calls we're trying to get to. Kim in Cincinnati. Kim, you are getting workers' compensation and welfare at the same time?
Yes. I was receiving welfare, and I reported it to them when my workman's comp kicked in after my surgery. I reported it, and they still kept putting funds on my card. My question is, can I get in trouble because they told me that they could not take the money back, that I just had to pay it back?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question, Kim. If you're off because of a workers' compensation injury and you had surgery, when you fill out a C-84 form as a request for temporary total, it asks you on that form whether there are any other sources of income or funds being received or benefits. And one of those are welfare. And you make sure you check that box, yes, and they may ask you for a case number or a claim number. As long as you properly disclose your sources of income, I think you're fine. Now, what will you have to pay a portion of that back? Maybe. But if you're worried about some type of criminal liability or fraud, as long as you properly disclose to all parties that you disclose welfare, you're receiving workers' comp, and you disclose to workers' comp that you're receiving welfare, I think you're fine. But there may be an overpayment because of an offset where you're receiving two types of benefits at once.
Okay.
So if you do have to pay something back, like in Kim's case, do they just show up on her doorstep and make her pay it?
No, you'll receive a letter from workers' compensation questioning whether you were overpaid. And you can contest that, and you actually would probably have to go to hearings at the Industrial Commission to determine, one, whether it's an overpayment is correct, and two, how much that overpayment should be.
But then they let you make payments?
Yeah.
Or?
They would deduct overpayments. I would never recommend paying it back directly. They deduct it from future proceeds, and as long as it's a non-fraud type of an issue, they usually deduct about 40% of future income or future benefits.
Okay, let's head to the phones again. I think we have John in Cincinnati. Good morning, John.
Yes.
Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, my question is that this happened in '94 or '95, and I was working on a government job. I was hurt on the job, and they never paid the bill. And I was told by a lawyer once that as long as they hadn't paid the bill, it's always an open case. And it's what is it I could do today as far as getting the bill paid?
Well, if it's an Ohio workers' compensation claim, John, and the question is whether you were working on a federal job or a state job, and the question would be whether it's federal workers' comp or state workers' comp. But assuming it's an Ohio workers' compensation claim, generally you have 2 years to file, or actually now it's 1 year with the new law, but the age of your claim, 2 years to file a medical bill to have it paid. If you did that and you put the Bureau on notice, I would still pursue payment of that bill through the Workers' Compensation Bureau.
Okay. All right, we want to get back over to Dan now. I believe you have another email for us, Dan, is that right?
That's right. Our next email is from Tristan. He says, how are colleges responsible for hazing if the person who was the victim agreed to participate? Well, hazing is a hot topic in recent years. There's a lot of that in the news. And Ohio and Kentucky deal with this topic a little bit differently. Ohio has a hazing statute or law that says that a university employee or the university itself is responsible for hazing if they knew or should have known that the hazing was taking place, and they did not take reasonable steps to prevent it. Now, they have a defense to that if they have policies or rules in place that say that hazing isn't allowed on their campus. The law says that if the person who is hazed agreed to participate, that doesn't constitute a defense. That's just what the law says. The idea is you want to get to the institution and you want to get to the individuals who are allowing this to happen and who have the power to stop it. That's one of the reasons why we allow people who consent to still recover under this statute. In Kentucky, it's a little bit different. There is no statute or law, but statute encourages institutions to have these policies in place to outlaw hazing on their campuses. That doesn't mean you can't recover in Kentucky. It just means they don't have a specific law providing for that. Now, if you have a question, go to fox19.com, click on the More Law button at the top of the page, fill out the Send Us Your Questions form and submit it to us, and we're going to do our best, as always, to answer your questions. Deb, that's all I've got for here today. See you guys later.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dan. We will see you later. And we're going to take another break right now. We will be back with on-the-job injuries. Give us a call, 513-421-4691.